It's your boy, Little Biscuits. And welcome to another
It's your girl,
episode,
Big Biscuit.
Big Biscuits. And this is Nerd Herder, I think.
Is it?
I don't know. I'm tired.
This is something, my dude.
Yeah, welcome back to another episode, Nerd Herder. I am your herd leader, John Wayne.
I'm sticking with it. I'm Big
There you
Biscuits.
go.
All
You are
right.
Big Biscuits from now and forever. So, me and Big Biscuits here are here to chat about what everybody else is kind of chatting about, what has taken the internet and the nerds of Star Wars by
Yes.
storm.
Lady Dimitrescu.
Dad batch.
Yes, that too.
Whether it's dads or moms, the internet's talking about somebody.
They're gonna step on you one way or the other.
Right.
It does not matter. Happy
Um,
Mother's Day.
So, no, yeah, Bad Batch released recently. You may have heard about it. It happened on a Tuesday, just an ordinary
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Like what the heck, man?
Well, May 4th.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that was the joke.
Every day is
Um,
Star Wars Day, man.
exactly. When every day is Star Wars Day, you just don't think about it. When every day is the
No.
Lord's Day, you just don't really care about figgy pudding, you know? So,
My pudding is so figgy. Like you don't even understand, man.
but yeah, it released. We did get also a second episode Friday, but we're
Yes, we
we're
did.
we're just planning to talk about our first episode mostly because we were caught off guard by the second episode releasing.
Yeah, actually.
Happy for it. You're shaking the table.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't have a way of signaling you quietly, so
Just kick me.
I tried. I could not find your legs,
Right here.
and also that's annoying. Just
Yeah.
footsie. It's distracting.
Okay.
Okay. Um, I
You were
should
caught off
I should
guard.
have finished. I should have finished.
You good.
Caught off guard.
You were caught off guard by the second episode.
Yeah. We'll never argue with more Star Wars content though.
No.
But yeah, so we're just planning to talk about the first episode, and then in August, when the series ends after 16 episodes, I believe is what the internet tells me. Then we'll talk about the whole show. We weren't sure if we would do that originally, but the first couple of episodes said yes, that we would have plenty to talk about. And it would be very much worth talking about when we have all of the content together. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, with the next new show, and with it being something near and dear to us, like Clone Wars, we wanted to definitely give some time to chat about it, just like everybody else is doing. But we're doing it our way.
Your ears are very distracting.
They're so wobbly. I love it.
That's
If
my hoodie.
if this is an audio only format, here, let me help you.
Listen to your sheepy friend.
That was my ear. There will be an image on Twitter, I'm sure, that'll indicate what we're talking about.
Oh,
If
it
not, just
is being uploaded
I'd love to
tonight.
know what's in your head right now, what you think is happening, because it's definitely not that. So yeah, Dad Batch, as many people are affectionately calling it,
Mm-hmm.
kicked off pretty big guns.
Oh, big guns.
We
Change
got
it in canon.
70-minute episode to show off and acquaint us with where we are at. And I was, yeah, you kind of just alluded to it, but I was surprised where we were dropped off. This is not my school. This is not where I was
This
told to
is not my
go.
beautiful
I
house.
need an adult.
Deva Balaba is my beautiful wife.
Oh
though.
yeah, but like yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't to be dropped right in the middle of
Yeah.
or right before Order 66. I figured we would just jump in like it's all
Yeah.
done already. Um, I think getting this perspective was interesting though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I loved seeing Baby Kanan always with his 30-year-old man voice. But like it's not a big deal. It's not a deal in
It's
general.
only a deal if you make it a deal. I thought it
Yeah.
was great.
I thought it was funny.
Who else are you gonna get? What else are you gonna do? It sounded fine. I know plenty of 13-year-olds that sound like that.
Yes.
So like, I mean,
Um
come on.
I think you had a much bigger reaction to the
Um,
change of Deppa's death than I did.
yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know what else to talk about, so I guess yeah, let's just jump right into the episode.
Yeah.
Aftermath, and it's titled in a way that it indicates what we're dealing with is that we're not just jumping in behind the events of Episode 3 in Order 66. We're
Mhm.
experiencing them and what it's gonna do to our characters. which I think is a better way to do it than what I expected of where we're just going to jump in and oh, Order 66 happened over there.
Yeah.
I guess part of me expected that because Bad Batch being new characters, where do they fit in? Where would they be? They don't serve a single Jedi general. They're very independent, so how would that work? And this kind of does a good bit of explaining of why a special forces group of clones would be in the thick of Order 66 and everything. But yeah, so we jump in on the planet Caller with Depa Billaba and Kanan, or Caleb Doom at this point. He has not gotten his new name.
Hmm.
And their commander, Gray. All things that are from the story, Kanan First Blood,
Yeah.
or The Last Padawan. Both of those comics exist and stories exist, and they have for quite some time. That's actually some of the first comics they did in relation to Rebels, when some of that backstory was introduced.
Hmm.
It was done by Craig Wiseman, I believe. Um, I love it. It's two great books, and I highly recommend people check it out. But because I had read them, and I reread them again after watching this, um, yeah, it was very much. I was instantly, oh, they're changing things. Like not maybe as harsh as a lot of people, but definitely
Yeah.
the first few minutes or at the first time was hard to uh, like experience. I was kind of very much just taken out of it by that. How much I was catching was
Yeah.
familiar but not right, quote unquote. So,
Yeah.
but whereas you have no point of reference for that,
I
so
barely know what's going on at any point in time, so yeah, like I know that you had told me before that this, this is how this goes down. But it wasn't like sticking in my mind. I was able to experience it as a newborn baby, just like, oh, this is gonna break my heart for the rest of my life. And I immediately thought, is Connor okay? Deba Banana on Twitter,
oh
if you know
yeah,
him, like that.
yeah,
I feel so bad. I felt
internet's
so
biggest
bad.
Depa Billaba fan.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I mean, it's one of those hard things in general. Like you want to see these big moments of big characters, but at the same time, it comes with emotion.
Yeah.
I hate that this is the one moment we really get of characterization with Depa Billaba. So
Yeah.
that's also why the comics are still important because we do get more of that and everything. But
She's still super
I
cool.
would love so much more. I would love a lot more from that
Hmm.
character because she's so interesting. And then what they've done with her character through the canon comics retroactively,
Hmm.
um, have added so much more to her.
Hmm.
And so this is cool, and I hope that it kind of ignites this passion and interest for the character and people so that we get more. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd love that.
I think it's so much to say for the character that her first thought was to tell Caleb, "Go, run.
Yeah.
Don't try and fight, just run."
Hmm.
And she's such a mom. I
Yeah.
love that about Depa so
Yeah, I mean, and so I can't say enough. Read the Canon
much.
comics. They're on Comixology if you're into digital stuff. If you can't find it in print, which would be probably hard to find, it's been out for a few years now.
Yeah.
Um, and it's very much one of those things where it works both ways. So, like I said, they were on the planet Caller. It was obviously Caleb and Depa.
Hmm.
It was, I believe it was Captain Gray and Commander Styles. They got rid of Styles, but it was two clones really, because one of the cruxes of the story, to not give too many spoilers, but is one is much more crosshairs, whereas the other is much more hunter. And so there was meant to be two clones that both had the same perspective of serving beside these Jedi, but reacted differently.
Yeah.
So, but they don't need that story.
Yeah.
The Bad Batch characters serve that story. Now, Commander Gray does survive as he does in the comics. Um, Styles doesn't exist, but he could be there. So it still works, in my opinion. Everything that matters to Kanan's story, to Caleb's story, post Order 66, and that happens in the comics,
Yeah.
is fully intact. And so I think that's part of the conversation around this for anyone who's read the comics, seen this, and it's like, it's different. The main thing is the end story's the same. At what he does after this, who he meets and how he grows still happen. This doesn't
Mhm.
change the quote unquote important stuff. The Order 66 scene, the differences really are just a matter of emotion. So, like the one in the Caleb comics, like I said, they're focusing on these two particular clone characters. So, the importance comes from these characters that have served together having a sudden moment of change. In this one, the focus isn't on Gray and Styles. And I mean, the focus is all on both Deppa and Caleb.
Yeah.
It's just the clone focus. So the Order 66 moment is the major change, but it still happens the same for for the most part. Like it's different, but it's not that different.
Yeah.
Um, I get the frustration of like like do does it only matter if it's in the in on screen?
Hmm. Which
Does
is an argument that's been happening for years.
yeah, like I don't feel like there's enough evidence that they throw out books and comics to say that.
Hmm.
Um, I think there's more evidence where they've actually used those as references. I think it just came down to what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. These are characters created by Filoni. He had creative choice of how he brought them forward in this new story. And, I feel like the story team was like, well, Order 66 still happens. These are the things that have to stay the same. There you go.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think it matters that much. I get the frustration, though. I think it definitely took me some time to deal with, but because the main point and when you go back and I again read the comics, they're cheap on Comixology. When you read it, you start to realize how little this actually has to do with that story. It's
Yeah.
not the story of Order 66. It's the story of what happens to Kanan after Order 66, which still, to my opinion, happens. So
I
I think we
mean,
still get it.
yeah, we get context to a character,
Mm-hmm.
which in both mediums is done extraordinarily well. I don't think either story is more important than the other, honestly. It's like seeing a different perspective of the same story you've heard 1,000 times. Like
Mm-hmm.
it, which I don't think I'll ever recover emotionally from Order 66.
Right.
So I don't think it's becoming stale personally.
Right.
But like yeah, I I cry every time.
Yes, every Tim.
Every time.
So yeah, so like I said, the main points get across where we're on collar. We've got Deppa, we've got Caleb, and we've
Yeah.
got Commander Gray. They're backed up, and our lovely Clone Force 99 shows up to save them,
Yes. The best
which
Clone Force.
puts them in proximity. Like I said, they don't really serve with a Jedi, so they would have never experienced Order 66 like other clones. So this is the way to kind of accommodate that is to
Yeah.
put them there. Um, what I like is just how subtly they go about like, hey, they're not normal,
Mm-hmm.
um, because just they don't really regard what's happening like the rest of the clones do. Obviously Commander Styles gets the beacon from Palpatine.
Yeah.
Commander Styles, Commander Gray. Sorry, they're very interchangeable.
They're
They're
clones.
not, but they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that's what I get for reading the comic.
They're the same person twice.
Which again, it's one of those things where it's just like Commander Cody, Commander Gray, Commander Bakara, Commander Neil. Like, did you really have to do that? First of all, you only call the commander, and then all
Yeah.
the other ones just follow. So it's like, did you
Also,
have to do that?
yeah, like, did he have to call
That's
everyone,
what I'm
like,
saying. Like,
individually? Couldn't there have been, like, a conference function? Where...
first of all, yeah, I mean, there is no way even a clone commander would be like, yeah, if the commander in chief talks to you, you talk back. But it's one of
Yeah.
those things where it's like, wait, like why am I getting a call from Palpatine?
Yeah.
Like it that doesn't make sense. It should have been just a general
Yeah.
thing, but at the same
There,
time, it's also like a switch gets flipped.
yeah, like, that's what I was thinking, is that it would have made a little bit more sense to me if, like, there was a switch on Camino that they just
Which
sort of flipped, and they're like, oh,
which it
yep,
really
clones.
seems like there is, and we'll get into that. So, but yeah. So whereas originally, Same essence where Deppa's facing off the clones, tells Caleb to run, he runs. That's still there. It's just that Bad Batch follow him in this
Yeah.
show and hunt, because essentially everyone um, is kind of as confused as he is, except for the little moments with Crosshair
Yeah.
that kind of show where he's maybe a bit more abrasive than he normally is. And that's what I say. I like the subtleness of it because you almost think, oh, Bad Batch, they're going to be the good ones, they're going to be safe, and all this. And then within their own ranks, it gets uncertain because it's just like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Yeah.
It's like when any other clone um, follows orders, and it's just like, ah,
Yeah.
like
It's an elevation of what we saw in season
seven,
4.
4.
Season 4, where when oh man, what's the clone's name? I don't remember. The one that uh kills the Jedi Master way before its time.
Tup, I believe.
Yeah,
That's 6.
that's 6.
Season 6. Yeah, because that's the Lost
Correct.
Missions. Because that's Five's character arc episodes. Um, yeah, where we get that good soldiers follow orders thing again,
Yes.
and it almost makes me wonder. Again, that metaphorical switch. It almost puts them in a place of PTSD where that's just on repeat in their
Yeah.
head, and that just becomes their only motivator is good soldiers follow orders, good soldiers follow orders,
Yeah.
and it's just like
It's a bad motivator.
because all their character drains away.
Yeah.
We see that when they get back to Camino. We see that in the next episode, Cut and Run. We see it throughout where it's just like they are not the same.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like Order 66. And again, the Kanan comics are great for this because Commander Gray or Captain Gray, whatever he was in that, even talks about like Kanan triggers his memory. And like, it's like, wait, why do you need help remembering that you were there, you lived that?
Yeah.
Like it's so interesting and weird, and it's like midi chlorians. I wish they would just nut up and talk about it. Like I just
Exactly.
like get brave and tell about the weird stuff.
Yeah. Like I think a case could be made for relationship is that has a lot to do with good soldiers follow orders. A clone can fight against programming.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's exactly what happened with Rex and Ahsoka. Rex
Absolutely.
saw his friend in front of him
Right.
instead of seeing his commander.
And that's what you see in the Kanan comics too. So that like again, that's comics informing the
Yeah.
show, because the comics came first. So it's that
Yeah.
same thing of it's not unfounded that in that moment they could kind of be pulled back. But
Yeah.
what are they getting pulled back from?
Do you think that that's why the Wolfpack didn't fight against their programming with Plo? They couldn't see him. He was in a ship.
Oh. No, I mean I don't know.
I don't know.
I
Because,
don't want to emphasize it too much on well the Jedi makes the clones cut because yeah, like Plo loved his boys.
he
So
did.
like as much reason that Rex would have to not turn on Ahsoka, I feel like Wolf should have with Plo.
Dude,
Um,
I would die if that was a thing.
I mean,
Just
I can
like,
I can understand Ayla Secura. I can
oh,
understand Kiadi
jeez.
Mundi.
Yeah.
I can get that, but yeah, like I don't know what it is, and
Yeah.
that's why the only thing I can really associate it with, and I know it's not the right phrase because it's not post anything. It's pre-traumatic stress disorder or something. Like it's
Yeah.
one of these things where it's like so dissociative that it pulls them out of who they are.
Dissociative identity
Yeah,
disorder.
like
That's what
it
you're thinking of.
immediately imprints them with a whole new copy paste identity.
Hmm.
They aren't Rex, they aren't Wolf, they are CT, whatever their number
Yeah.
is.
Which dissociation is terrifying if
Well,
you're
yeah,
going
like
through it.
like it's something anyone can experience on a regular basis, but like trauma is something that
Yeah.
does that. And so it's almost like they're biologically conditioned to experience a moment of trauma that completely turns them
Yep.
into whatever their creator wants. It's such an interesting thing. It's right up there with midichlorians that I just think it's so fascinating and so unexplored. It's so weird.
Hmm.
So Caleb does get away. That's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
If you want to know what happens from there, read the Kanan comics. I'm going to sound repetitive, but it's really good.
We're going to make you read.
It's 2 volumes, so it's not that extensive. It'll take maybe an hour to read all of it. I know that makes it sound like, well, that's not that big of a deal. It's good reading. I mean, comics, they aren't long. I mean, it just is what it is. That's why you get hundreds of them.
Yes.
Um, But yeah, so we do get those signs on Collar that Crosshair maybe is a little bit more obedient than the rest of them.
Yeah,
I thought this played on an interesting thing because
I agree.
I did not think of, well, why would they start following orders now? You know, like, makes sense. I still wish we would have gotten our Jedi hunters,
Yeah.
but, you know, I guess
We got a
I
Jedi Hunter.
maybe. I mean, right now he's the Bad Batch hunter. So we'll talk about that. But
Oh man.
I love seeing him back on Camino. I thought that was nice.
Yeah, I like the Kaminoans.
Yeah, anything there where it's 100% clone economy, clone, ecosystem
Yeah.
is interesting to me because like we see them through the lens of their Jedi so much and through action so much. To see them as just people like this
Yeah.
is very, very interesting.
I mean, even just seeing the Bad Batch their rooms like that was a nice moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really shows how
When
comfortable they are.
Yeah, and when that shows again, like they have rooms there, like their home base is there. They get their missions there. They don't
Hmm.
have anyone they're tied to. So it's all these things that when you start to unravel it, all start to make sense in the bigger story. Um, but so again, we talked about it with how things get off when Order 66 happens. You feel it as soon as they get back to
Yeah.
Camino.
I personally I love the reversal of like they went from having this intricately painted armor
Mm-hmm.
to being shiny again.
Mm-hmm.
Like they
Well,
all reverted back to Tamara Morrison
right. Well,
in
and I think
episode
you really
2.
see that in Cut and Run because you see just normal clones. Like
Yeah.
there was no such time when you would just see normal clones just out and about. Like if they were somewhere, if they were assigned, they were with a battalion. That battalion had a sign. Um, whereas it kind of makes sense that they're shinies here
Yeah.
because it's Camino.
Yeah.
But the only difference you see are the shock troopers, which are Coruscant
So
Guard,
cool.
which are the most elite and most obedient. I mean, we see that from Commander Fox for sure. And I
Fox.
almost feel like they had a pre-Order 66 because they to be that hyper obedient. I don't know.
Yeah,
It would make sense to me that they were more conditioned for obedience
I agree.
being that close to the well now emperor then chancellor.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, they do something I greatly appreciate in animated stuff where I loved it in Resistance when we got Hux's speech when Starkiller fired on the New Republic. We get the speech from Palpatine here.
Yes.
And yeah, people have been talking about it. It's worth mentioning. Yeah, we get animated scenes from Return or Revenge of the Sith in the beginning that looks so good.
Oh, they look fantastic.
I love when they do stuff like that where it brings the two worlds together.
Hmm.
I mean, no matter what we do, they're still separate because of the medium
Hmm.
of live action and animation. So to blend it together of here's a moment in a style that you're currently experiencing, I like that. Same way,
Yeah.
the reverse, I like. We shared great art from someone we follow, but anytime people take clones and make them Tamara Morrison, like I love that. I
Yeah.
love seeing Tamara Morrison's face on unique clone armor or seeing the Bad Batch made to look more like Tamara Morrison
Yeah.
because animation only does so much.
We need to commission a Fives portrait from them.
Right.
Like
um,
seriously.
so yeah, I love the blending and it's
Yeah.
more of what we got in episode 7 or season 7 as well, of that you start to feel like things are happening together,
Yeah.
not that we're happening over here and then we're here's the Clone Wars and then our next stop is Revenge of the Sith. No, you feel like
Yeah.
no, this is the same story, this is together.
Yeah. And I think Star Wars does such a fantastic job of that is telling a unique story that's happening in a story that you already know,
Hmm.
but from a different perspective. That is one of my favorite things about the Star Wars universe is that we know the overarching story. We know what's
Yeah.
happening when, but we don't know the little pockets of the universe that they're happening.
Well, and it's an onion of stories, and though what I'll say is we don't know what's happening,
No, we don't.
and that's what's exciting about Bad Batch is because we had no point of reference where they end up, what happens to them, who they run into. So it's actually one of the first times we've got open possibilities.
Yeah.
It's not building up towards episode 4. It's not building towards anything. It's
Hmm.
just being what it is. And I think that's exciting and cool because we have so much of Star Wars that's in between. And so you're always referencing it against, well, it's so long after this one, so this should happen. And then they've got to get to this eventually. So
Yeah.
2 seasons from now, you know who's going to show up. And it's like, it just feels like it you might not know the details, but it's expected.
Yeah.
This it's an open game. It's like the Mandalorian, where it's just this little part of the galaxy of stories where it's just so unique and independent.
Yeah. We know what's going to happen. We know what has happened, but we don't know what's happening.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, and then pretty immediately they meet our new favorite member of Bad Batch, Omega. Um,
Omega.
so this is a start. This isn't that was more Australian than anything, which is just Southern New Zealander, I think. So,
Wow. Beauty.
um, what? So this is an interesting thing. Okay, so she says Omega. Everyone else says Omega. Is it right the way she says it because of but she says it that way because of her
I
accent.
think it's Omega.
I think it's Omega. I think that's just her accent,
Yeah.
but it's so much cuter.
It's so
Well,
cute. Okay.
like that one, like
She's a
anything she
baby.
does is amazing. It's
Just
precious. She can
I
do no wrong.
I was thinking about that earlier today. It was like Star Wars does such a fantastic job of making the mundane incredible.
Yeah,
And like she is so delightful
yeah. Well, and that's
as
what
a
I mean. Is
character.
like they really it's Baby Yoda syndrome where it's just this thing of like they're instantly just so precious and likable and interesting. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. I mean, I know it's not just because they're kids, it's because I've seen horrible children. They're scary, but like something magical happens where it's just like you want to protect
Yeah.
them. You understand why the main dad characters make the choices they make because that is a precious person that must be protected at all
Yeah. It's
costs.
the Brooklyn Nine-Nine thing. I've only had Omega for 24 hours, but I
Right.
would kill and die for her.
Exactly. So she is amazing, and we do get the reveal later of her. She's a defect. She's a clone, which I think is very interesting.
Defect.
Yeah, like, in the canon sense, that's how they would label her. She's
Yes.
different. Um, I
She
think
built
I
different.
like that. I like that more than just some random kid running around. And
Yes.
no, I didn't think instantly that she was a clone
It makes
because I'm an
sense.
idiot. It does make sense. That's why I'm an idiot because I'm just
It's
like,
okay.
wait, she was a clone all along. Half the internet's already said it for 24 hours. Like I'm an idiot. But either way, I like it.
Yeah.
I want to know more about that because that's a very unique and I'm going to use a word, but I don't mean it in a negative sense, but that's a very unique mutation to the DNA. Like, I can almost get how you would get malformed characters like Clone Force 99.
Yeah.
Getting Omega, it's unique. It's special, and I think that's
She
what
is so
adds to her
special.
character. You think I'm overselling this for the internet? I'm not.
No,
I
she's a
love her.
baby. We love her dearly.
Tarkin shows up. They waste no time getting very imperial on us.
Of course.
Stephen Stanton doing another great job as Tarkin. I do
Dang,
appreciate
Stephen
it.
Stanton.
We get a perfect little food fight sequence
Yes.
there. I love the just classic like Breakfast Club thing where it's just like
Yes.
you want to sit with us. Like that's such a high school thing. Like, dude, y'all have probably the highest kill record, highest success mission. Like y'all are awesome. Y'all should be celebrities. More
Yes.
people should want to sit with you. This should not be weird. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like they're
Yeah.
they're trying to make them outcasts so much that it doesn't make sense. Where it's just like, wait, but y'all are actually cool.
It's
It's like Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker. Why are you a nerd and why are you bullied? Because you're
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, actually. I that's what's so unbelievable with him about as Peter Parker
Right,
is like
you are no one's
you're
bullying
you're
you.
cool. Shut
All the
up.
girls want to date you,
You can drive. You can ride a skateboard. Peter
right?
Parker.
All
Shut
the
up.
girls want to get dropped by you. Anyway, I just thought it was so hilarious. I can't say much more than it's an
I
entertaining
I love
scene.
Crosshair just
Oh,
absolutely
so I have
booning
to
a
say,
dude.
oh yeah, well, and I have to say with that, so part of that starts off with Wrecker. So,
Yeah.
we haven't really talked about characters here. So I feel like let's take a time out and talk about
Yes.
characters. I did not like Wrecker in season 7. I thought he
Okay.
was just, he was the generic big, dumb, and strong character. I didn't think there was anything fun about him compared to the others. Like, yeah, he's got powers, but he's not characterized. Um, I attribute that now to the fact that those episodes were probably 5 or 6 years old
Yeah.
by the time they finally got animated to season 7. They'd already been done.
Hmm.
So I'm almost glad we didn't get more of that because with time, with over 10 years under their belt, they've been able to really develop as writers and character creators. And so I think that creating Bad Batch in 2021 is where they should exist.
I agree.
It's one of those things where I do think they're like it's very very rare in storytelling and filmmaking and animation where you get where no, they were supposed to exist, it was supposed to happen here now, and this is the definitive version because we're so used to things getting repeated and redone and reintroduced. So it's this idea of there's no way that you're telling me this movie could only be successful and good and happen right now. Because there's this idea of, like, no, give it 10 years, they'll make the same story with more money and it'll be even funnier. And it's like, we expect that it can exist anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think this story succeeds and is good here and now because of all the contributing factors of how much Clone Wars that the writers have gotten to do animation wise, what they've been able to develop and everything.
I agree.
So that tangent aside, I think that we really are getting very to different degrees getting different characters. I think Wrecker more than any of them,
I
but
agree.
I think they're different than they would have been originally.
Oh, absolutely. I think Hunter would have just been Solid Snake for like
Yeah,
his
well,
entire
and that's the
career.
thing is like even him, he's more interesting here.
Yeah.
He's not just cool guy with cool mullet
Dude,
and
what
he's not just Rambo.
what makes Hunter
Omega.
cool? That's not even her
Sorry.
name.
Go
Uh,
ahead.
what makes Hunter cool is the dad part of him. Like
I knew you'd say that.
you can immediately see compassion. You can immediately
Well,
see
you
preservation.
see leadership. You don't just
Yes.
see I'm tough and gruff and I look cool, so
Yes.
I'm the leader.
Father
You
figure.
you get characterization of there's a reason why they would follow him. There's a reason why
Yeah.
he's in charge. Even Tech, he's not just nerdy, he's snarky. Like he
He's so
knows he's
smart.
smarter than everyone and he tells you that. Like I like that. I like
Hmm.
that we're getting more development with only having so little to do with these characters. And
Yeah.
again, it's because although we're only getting this much, so a little bit, the creators have been working with these characters for forever, like
Hmm.
since they were originally created. So they've had years to develop and say, well,
Yeah.
maybe it wouldn't have been that cool if we did it this way.
Yeah. I mean, and like with Wrecker, like he has Fezzik syndrome, where he is just this big sweetheart who
Yeah. Oh
just
yeah.
wants everyone to be okay.
And here's the thing: you can list me like 20 different characters that do the same thing. I don't care. He's still precious.
He's got
It
Lula.
works. It's so much better than just let me punch it. Like we even get moments where it's not even just let me punch it. No, no, there is a science to his punching.
Yes.
Like I love stuff like that where I'm big and brutish, but there's a point. Like it
Yes.
matters. Like it's so much more interesting.
I
Um,
fully agree.
and then even Crosshair, he's not just gruff and outsiderish because he's the lone wolf and sniper. That's very generic. No, it's because actually he's got some more of the programming, the clone programming, than any of his brothers.
Uh-huh.
So it makes sense why he would be a little bit more rigid and all this other stuff. And they play on that for the way this ends on the cliffhanger that he stays behind. He choose well.
He doesn't choose.
I don't know that he. Yeah, I don't know that he would have if there wasn't the outside influence of Tarkin, but ultimately he's easily manipulated into choosing
Yeah.
to stay.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I agree. Like I think there it would be not as interesting of a story if we didn't have that conflict of like everyone else is going this way, why aren't you? Like
Yeah, well, and it's more it gives them more dynamic because now there's a credible threat hunting them. Like normal
yes.
clones versus Bad Batch, they can handle it. It's fine. They would need to send an acolyte or something, which they don't have right now.
Yeah.
So what else do you do than use one of their own against them? It's
Yep.
it's good storytelling. It's good.
If Hunter is Solid Snake, Crosshair is Revolver Ocelot, which makes no sense to you who has never played the
Nope.
Solid
Nope. Nope. Nope.
Metal Gear Solid
Um,
games.
And then of course Echo's Echo. I don't feel like there's
Echoes.
much more you can do with like I feel like
I
he's interesting because he's interesting.
Echo. I
Yeah,
love him. I love him so much. I love all of my good boys from Domino Squadron, and I
and
just
he's the last
he's
one.
oh, stop.
It's sad, but it's come such a long way, and that's what's interesting about they get the training sequence where they
Yeah,
kind of get tested and everything, and that's the same war room that the rookies fight in
dude.
when we first meet them and everything. It's those moments where you almost forget what's changed,
Yeah,
but Tarkin is ever the face of change, and that this is not what it once was, and that's what's interesting is I mean a day, maybe two after Order 66, and Tarkin showing up just like, yeah, we might need to shut down this clone production. Even Lama Su's like, you're gonna need clones, you're gonna need troops for this and
mm-hmm.
everything. So it's like, how quickly they were just like, yep, nope, all threats are taken care of. We don't need obedient soldiers anymore.
Yeah. Which I a benefit to watching Bombad Thursdays. It, Bombad, Bombad,
Um,
Bombad
yeah,
cast. Follow the boyos.
mm-hmm,
So, Scotty brought up a fantastic point of a theory that he had heard,
mm-hmm.
where there's a reason that they probably wouldn't want to be spending money on the clones. They were going to be putting that money towards the Death Star,
I mean that's fair. I
like,
mean, and
which
and
is dope.
in the comics, it takes them a while because it's actually jump started by a biopathogen.
Mm.
So when you have someone who's cloned a million times, you only have to figure out what could kill that one man a million times. And so it was stuff like that where they were like they were too susceptible. Like if you put two
Yeah,
different people in a room, give them strawberries, one will react differently.
bullets seem to work.
Right. Well,
Like,
true, but it's not about killing; it's about killing in mass quantity. So if you don't
man,
want to trust that a pathogen is going to kill everyone the same. I mean, in real life, coronavirus affects people very differently.
yeah,
We don't know why. Imagine if it was just a million of the same person, it would all affect the same way. It would all end in death. So it was this
yeah,
idea of, well, if we just fill our ranks with anyone and just train them, then we at least up our chances of not being affected by bioweapons
yeah.
and such. So
If Jango Fett was allergic to
but
peanuts, that
I
would suck.
I think that that's the perspective of the empire is it's just it's all of that. All of that is happening at the same time. They're looking at cutting costs. They're looking at improving efficiency. So it's not like they're getting rid of the clones. They're keeping who's there. It's just that they're not making any more. But I also think it's actually a brilliant plan to create this idea of the empire that you want to join.
Yeah,
The idea of the Imperial Academy is actually super uh, interesting and both super insidious because it's the idea of you feel like you're giving back and you're contributing to justice and peace when in
yeah,
fact you're destroying justice and peace by contributing to a fascist system. So it's like this interesting thing where you invite people to enslave themselves.
yeah.
It's really weird. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like that is very much imperial. I think that all kinds of comes together of why they would want more control.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the same time, I think we're going to see where maybe the Kaminoans have more control than the Emperor would like. I think that's going to be interesting because we also see. Ooh, I'm trying to find her
Can we
name.
see?
The female Kaminoan. She's been in episodes before.
I'm trying to
Um,
remember her name. I can hear Daniel Logan's tiny
but
voice.
she does. No, it's not her. It's
Oh,
not Tonwi. It's a different. She's actually a doctor. Tonwi is like advisor to Lama Su. She's political. The
ah,
other lady's a scientist. But later on, when I forget what they're trying to do, but she end up help. She ends up helping Omega and Bad Batch a little bit by like rerouting some stuff or whatever.
yeah,
So like she contributes. So it's almost one of those things where it's just like, wait a minute, because
yeah.
are you good guy or are you just anti-empire?
It's. I always think of characters like DJ in that moment of like, there is no side. We're all like, these are people
Oh yeah,
fighting for
I don't
themselves.
think she's at the end of the day being like, haha, may the force be with you because Jedi rule. No, I think
No,
she's just like, no,
self
they're messing with
preservation,
my
baby.
money, right? Like
Exactly.
because that's essentially what's happening is they've been funded by the Republic for so long. Now they're basically saying, hey, contracts up.
Yeah.
So, of course, and that's what I think is going to be an interesting conflict later, is I think the Kaminoans are going to come into conflict with the Empire. So I think that contributes to maybe why they're like, hey, we want full control of the clones.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they have that. I think there's the idea they do, but I think deep down they don't because they don't make them.
Mm-hmm.
But you can control, brainwashed citizens, and you don't actually have to hypnotize people to
No.
brainwash them. It's all in the media and all this other stuff. Like they can
Patriotism's a
control
powerful thing.
exactly, and I think that's what's about the Imperial Academy. I think that's what they're building too. Is this idea of again people welcoming enslavement and fascism, like people openly accepting this thing,
There's
like they did with the Emperor.
Yeah, there's no real life
They
example of that.
voted for him, So anyway, so Tarkin tests them. They're like, yeah, if you can do this thing, then you can live, basically. Um, and because again, it's just this idea: if we can't control them, they're a threat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think that Kaminoans are going to be interesting later. So he sends them to Onderon, and that should instantly sound familiar to everyone.
Yes.
And of course, because we see that it's a meetup with, well, not a meetup. They're meant to kill Saw
They
Gerrera.
just sort of show up.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they're meant to kill these insurgents, separatist insurgents.
Yeah.
What's funny is the Republic was sent there to help them resist their own government that was serving the separatists. So it's like how the script has changed. It's so
How
interesting,
the turntables.
right? So, but it's one of those things where, and that's why, like, no, don't talk to the separatists. They're evil. They'll trick you.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Because if you talk to your enemy, you might find out that they're not as much of an enemy as you think they are.
Yeah.
And that's just all it happens. They talk. And this is really, I think, the breaking point for Crosshair, where it's just like, what do you like? Good soldiers follow orders. Why aren't you just doing what you're told?
Yeah.
And again, it comes up with like, why would they start doing that now? Like they've never been obedient.
Yeah.
They've been cool. They've been good boys. They've never been obedient. So like, and it makes no sense. But I think that's the breaking point of where he's just like, okay, you let the kid go on collar, um, and the fact that Hunter knows he has to lie to Crosshair at that moment, like he lies
Yeah.
and says Kanan died because he knows. I think even without the Order 66 stuff, because they don't know much about that at that point, but like even without that, he knows Crosshair's too out there.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that he already didn't really trust him.
Yeah. I love those moments between the two of them of just like, what are you doing? No, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, and they definitely represent interesting sides of the coin and everything.
Yeah.
And so when they get back, of course, then it's like, wait, you didn't kill them, you talked to them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, now you're going to jail for that.
Cool.
So, and it was, I think Tarkin knew what was going to happen. I think one way or another, he knew they weren't going to follow orders. So
Mm-hmm.
the whole point was just to get an excuse, much like with Fives, to be able to eliminate them because they were problematic. Um, we get great moments because Omega's with him, and they get
So
the
many
great,
cute
yeah, they
moments.
get the great prison break where, like I said, Wrecker proves like there's brilliance to his disaster and everything, and um, you know, Omega gets involved in it and it really starts to feel like a member and everything.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Crosshair is getting amplified in his clone juices and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I feel like there was still enough there. He would have made the choice anyway. I
I
feel like
agree.
this took away any conflict. I
Mm-hmm.
think as whereas before he probably wouldn't have killed his brothers, I think now he's full obedient. Like, and I think
Yeah.
that's something that tweaks in
Yeah.
post Order 66 syndrome is we see where they're willing to follow orders to the extent of killing their own kind.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder where we're gonna end up
Hmm.
with Crosshair.
I think
Like,
he's gonna die. I don't think they're saving him.
I don't want him to die.
I don't know. I mean they got to do something to earn it, but I don't care.
I want Wrecker to
Of
get through to him.
Oh well, I don't know. Of all the characters I hope live, he's not high on the list. I'll
Yeah.
say that. I don't know.
Aw.
I mean, again, they have to make him more interesting. I mean, I don't mean that in the sense of he's boring, he should die. I just mean more so it's just like I think he's serving his purpose. So
Yeah.
they have to sell me on wanting to save him because he's kind of not cool. Like he's not nice. I don't necessarily want to hang out with him.
Yeah, but Ohana means family.
Eh,
Family means no one gets left behind.
I mean, if they're a spirit, they don't get left behind. They follow you. So,
Dang, son.
I
All
mean,
right.
but yeah, so basically, and again, I'm an idiot. It was completely obvious when you look at it that he was that dark, tall, and handsome dark trooper,
He is dark,
whatever
tall,
we're
and
going to
handsome.
call them. But we see teased there. I wanted it to be bad. I wanted it to be Cody,
I
but let's be
know.
honest, Cody's not that cool.
I don't think Cody's gonna show up,
Nobody's going to
honestly.
Cody and being like, "Hey, we have a special force team. We need you to lead." Like, no. Hey,
We're putting together
we
a
have
team.
some boys breaking hall monitor status. We need you to go police them. Like, go be a
Yeah.
good boy.
They don't have hall
Yeah,
passes.
exactly. Like, he's hall monitor
Ugh.
obedient. Like, whereas Crosshair, he's actually deadly, and he proves that. Like, he actually he doesn't pull any shots with them, and that's the difference. Is now I think he's willing to act on his differences with his brothers.
Yeah. Whereas before it was just an argument.
Right. It was just I mean, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go, but I'm not gonna agree, and I'm gonna complain and sulk the whole time.
Yeah.
And
Um.
so, yes, go ahead.
Yes. Oh, I wanted to mention the moment with Omega in the ship.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
when that's really where we are is so they escape Camino to try and find some semblance of
yeah.
what life is going to be like because they weren't really breaking orders to be like, no, we want to live and farm and they didn't have dreams or aspirations. They
No.
just didn't want to follow orders.
Exactly.
That's what's so much more interesting about them than Rex, where Rex had intention. Like he wanted to save his friend and he wanted to ultimately make things right.
Hmm.
They don't care. They just don't want to die
It's fair.
and don't want to serve the emperor. Like
Yeah.
it's so I'm with it. It's basic, but I'm here. I
Yeah.
understand. You know.
Yeah. And that last moment that we end on, another example of making the mundane and extraordinary is something we've seen 1,000 times.
Hmm.
The jump to hyperspace. It's
Yeah.
seeing it through the eyes
Oh,
of
absolutely.
an extraordinarily special child.
Yeah.
That made me like tear up a
Yeah.
little
Well,
bit.
it's something that brings you back to enjoying Star Wars. Like
Yeah.
I think it's one of those unique things that just brings you back to like this is like
Yeah.
we should all be Omega when we're watching Star Wars. It's
Yes.
that just like wonder and amazement, this newness and this
Yeah.
uniqueness because that's really what it is. Is it's just like I've never seen anything like this. It's beautiful. It's amazing.
You know what it reminded me of?
Mm,
The first time that we went on Star Tours.
stop. No, don't do that to me.
So we went on Star Tours for the first time, your first Disney trip.
Yes.
I watched your face through almost that entire thing.
That,
And it was the same, like, big eyed, we're in Star Wars kind of
yeah.
look. And
Okay.
it made me just feel something.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm not going to make you cry. It's not that kind of
so
day.
again, it leaves off, and in the second episode we have obviously seen and everything, but it follows up to that of they're just trying to figure out what life is going to be like, and
Yeah.
I think that's what's the lingering question of what we're hoping to see and everything, and what's interesting
Yeah.
about what's coming next in Bad Batch is what are they going to do? I mean, because
Yeah.
they might not be good soldiers like your typical idea, but they are soldiers through and through. So it's like, how do they go from one to the other? And how do they do that with one of their own and the Empire on their tail? And so I think we're going to get some interesting stuff. I'm excited. I think that the trailers have promised some interesting adventures.
Yeah.
We're getting another, which I don't know how certain people feel about it. It's another one of those, hey, reluctant dad adopts a child characters.
I'm all for it, baby.
I think it's interesting. I mean, face facts, people. There are children out there. They got to be adopted somehow. Like like I don't know. It's just like
Yeah.
you expect Grogu to be the only needy child for a dad. Like, and come on, like Jesus. So
Yeah.
I don't know what you expect. I think this is unique in many ways from other uh, adopt this miscreant child stories. I think there's plenty unique things happening and going to happen in this show
Yeah.
that it's not completely built on we've got to protect this kid
Yeah.
and blah 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 blah.
Which I think it's so awesome how each member of the Bad Batch interacts with Omega in
In
a
their
different
unique way,
way.
yeah.
It's so great.
Well, and that's the thing is, I think it's going to be about building their unique family. I think it's just going to be that, and
Yeah.
what that adds to the universe, I don't know, but I think it's going to be fun. Like, I'm not really thinking about, well, but how does that work? were they always out there when episode 4 happened? Why didn't they help? Like, I don't know. I don't care. I just,
Who the heck
I
cares,
hope
man?
it's just a good ride. Like, at the end of the day, that's all I'm hoping for is that it's fun. It's a good show.
Exactly.
And I think it will be.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we'll be excited to circle back around when we have all of the episodes, the whole story, to talk about it, and we'll see where we leave off. I'm sure it's going to be a disappointing cliffhanger because I know they're going to want a season 2.
I want a season
I want to
two.
see. Oh yeah, I'm here for
We're
it.
2 episodes in, and I want a season
I
5.
don't think we're getting. Yeah, I don't think we're getting Family Picnic as we, wander into the sunset at the end. I think we're getting something
Yes.
interesting
What season do you think
teased.
Maul's gonna show up in?
I hope he doesn't. I think, if anything, maybe show new and early Inquisitors. I don't think Maul needs to show up. Um, I just, well, yes.
I think
I,
Maul should
I,
show
I don't
up.
think so. I don't think he matters for this story.
Even if it's just like
I feel like
him
that's
just popping
much.
up in the background, that'd be great.
Yeah, I feel like that's much. Just because they have no point of reference and association with Maul.
I'm a simple woman.
I get it. I think there's plenty of interesting appearances they could do.
I hope
I just don't
Saw
think
shows back up.
I would like that. I would like if he becomes important again later. I think there's things that can happen that bring it close to current events, but not too close. Because again, they are unique. They're very independent. I think they could tell new and interesting stories
Yeah.
as they seek to be a family journeying through space together. So I don't think it has to be tied to anything too big or interesting. But who knows? Anything is possible. Again, I do think we're going to get another season, so it's
Yeah.
not all going to have to happen now and here. So if it doesn't happen now, it'll happen eventually. Other than that, thank you to our patrons who pay for this content and who help make it happen.
Yeah.
Thank you and shout out to our friends over the Red5Network, podcasts of people that are very cool and interesting, and you should check them out. Different perspectives and different views on the same things we love and all that good stuff. So, and then also Game Infinite.
Yeah.
All kinds of cool gaming stuff is always happening.
You want to see pictures of Lady Dimitrescu?
Right.
There she goes.
And if you love games and gaming characters, cosplay, art, all that, we share it all the time over on Game Infinite with Jesse. So Twitter, Instagram, Game Infinite. Check it out. And then other than that, we will be back soon with.
Something.
I know we're talking Saw. We're talking horror finally on Nerdyverse, which is interesting. But then we've also got
Yes.
our We Love Revenge of the Sith coming up. So we're going to be talking about that, which is ironic considering we just finished talking about Order 66.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, we've got Hat Chatter down the road and
We do.
all kinds of stuff. We've got a lot of planned things, which is exciting. We've got more planned than we've ever gotten planned, and it's pretty interesting. We're going to be covering a wide swath of things, and we are already stepping into new and interesting topics and adventures to enjoy you on this podcast. So hopefully you enjoy it. Let us and others know you enjoy it by liking, rating, sharing, all that wonderful stuff. Anything you can do to share and promote,
Yeah.
it means a lot. That really spreads it out there and shares it with new and interesting folks.
Really butters our croissant.
Exactly. Butters our biscuits. So
Big
without
biscuit.
further ado, I've been Little Biscuit. That's
I
been
just
Big
took
Biscuit.
a sip of water.
Make sure to bring the butter next time, and we'll see you around.
Honey butter.